What's up, guys? It's Tom, and this morning at 9:30 I watched the Rise of Skywalker. Can't remember the name. For the past few hours I've been writing up my notes, my thoughts on it, because I came out of the film. There are some parts I definitely liked, some parts are a bit weird, and yeah, it's definitely going to be a contentious one within the next few weeks. See what people think on social media and stuff, but especially YouTube. A lot of YouTubes I watch, and but yeah, no. At the moment, no reviews have come out. It's like, well, it's almost 6 o'clock on Tuesday, on Thursday, and yeah, I haven't seen any reviews yet. And I was just gonna put down my thoughts, because obviously over time they're gonna change. But just gonna put it out there to start off with. I've got like 12 pages of notes here, so I'm probably gonna be reading it from this a lot. Start off, film far better than I anticipated. I went in. I really didn't enjoy the Last Jedi. Lots of people liked. Some people, it was really contagious within the fan base. Like, half people liked it, half people fucking hate it, and I was one of those who was not a fan. And because of that, I've just gone off the Disney Star Wars thing. Really got back into it with The Mandalorian, but I really wasn't expecting much from the film, and that's probably why I went in thinking, oh, this is gonna be terrible. But then I had a bit of an open mind, and it was just a lot better than I expected. But obviously, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a fantastic film. But let's be honest. Yeah, there's obviously been a lot of issues with the film. Originally, it had the amount of directors that it's had to cycle through until it's ended up coming back to JJ, and then originally it was going to be 3 different directors for the films, and then it ended up being JJ for The Force Awakens and this film. So it makes sense that he'd want to carry on from where he left off, kind of, and he has kind of ignored the Last Jedi to an extent. And I don't know. Even though I don't like The Last Jedi, like it kind of ruins things, like because he tried to cram too much into this film from having that mindset. But I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much if he tried to follow on from The Last Jedi. First of all, the sequel trilogy, I think it was bound to fail from the start, because to get people in the seats, they used the OT cast and then ended up killing them off one by one. And I think they shouldn't. Obviously, they wanted to make money, and to get people in the theatre, in the cinema, they wanted people wanted to see the OT cast that they know. But I think that no matter how it went, I think it would have been so much better if the sequel trilogy had been nothing to do with Luke, Leia, Han, and Lando. At least they didn't ruin Lando's character in this new film, though. Yeah, overall, the film was alright, but there was definitely good and bad, and stop talking about it. Okay, we open with the title crawl, and we see that Palpatine is back. Now, most people have seen the trailers and knew that was going to be the case, but it was still a bit of a weird title crawl just to say Palpatine, he's back out of nowhere, deal with it, you know. Yeah, and it is a bit of a ridiculous thing, because it is a Disney film. It's pretty obvious that the good guys are going to win in the end, so they're just bringing back this beloved character just to kill him off at the end. Like, many people were hoping that maybe Palpatine would win just to make something different, but the chances of that happening was so slim, and obviously it wasn't the case. If you've seen the film, well, if you haven't seen the film, you probably shouldn't be watching this or listening to this. I recommend listening to this rather than looking at my weird face the whole time. So I think it's to do with, so JJ obviously set up this villain of Snoke, and then Ryan in The Force Awakens just said fuck you and just destroyed that. So JJ, like, I couldn't have seen many other options. Like, he could have brought in a brand new villain, and then there's absolutely no, at least Snoke, even though he has no backstory, like, at least we've seen him in the previous 2 films then, but so he couldn't have brought in a new villain out of nowhere, so he had to bring in the previous villain, and that obviously being Palpatine from the original 6 films. The only other thing I could have thought of them doing was Rey turning to the dark side, like Kylo converting Rey, but then that ends up with there isn't many places to go with that, because it kind of doesn't. It would result in Kylo not really having a character arc. Like, yeah, I think it would be really interesting for Rey. That's what I was hoping for in the Last Jedi. I was hoping Rey would turn evil and join Kylo, but that wasn't the case. But yeah, and it is a Disney film. Like, the good guys are gonna win. It's pretty much a set from the get go, you know. But yeah, so even though it was bad to see them bringing back this beloved character just to kill him off, like he couldn't have really brought anyone else back, like, and yeah. Okay, so the film starts off with Kylo searching for Palpatine. Well, he's searching for a MacGuffin that is used to find Palpatine, and I thought that scene was really fucking cool with him just. It was Kylo all by himself, like he's not relying on anyone else. He's just shredding down people, and then he goes to this massive temple, I guess, where Palpatine's been reincarnated, and yeah, Kylo just seemed like an absolute badass in that start bit, and Kylo's probably been the best part of this sequel trilogy. Yeah, he finds Palpatine. Palpatine tells him that he needs to kill Rey, and then he'll have this whole fleet of Star Destroyers out of nowhere that's somehow got all the crew members to man the Star Destroyers. I guess I don't know the logistics of how that would work. It seems really weird. It was a bit confusing later on with the main general guy being part of this new fleet of Star Destroyers when it made it out as though he was part of the First Order. So I'm not sure how that worked. It is a bit of a mess. The whole film in general was just a bit of a mess. It was trying to just cram too much into one film, since it was kind of JJ's trilogy, but into 2 films rather than 3, because he was trying to ignore a lot of what Ryan had done. Yeah, trying to tie up loose ends from The Last Jedi. Yeah, I really liked how they did it with even though it was kind of a bit weird. It was just like, yeah, I made Snoke, and that was a bit weird, but he was just trying to explain, because Ryan killed him off in the Last Jedi. So, but I liked how he'd been Vader talking through the helmet, because we always thought that was really weird, just Kylo looking at Vader's burnt helmet for a source of evil, when we all know that Anakin turned to the light, was always part of the light side, and it seemed weird for him to still be evil. But if it was Palpatine communicating through there, I know it probably wasn't planned like that from the start, but I thought that was a decent explanation for it. Okay, then we get on to Rey's training. It's actually good to see her training, because a main issue a lot of people have, including me, in The Force Awakens, is she is a Mary Sue character. Like, she just did in the previous film. She didn't have any. She was extreme. Her being extremely talented out of nowhere wasn't the big issue. It's the fact that, like, there was nothing wrong with the character. Like, it's not being sexist or anything. It's just Rey had nothing wrong with her, and in this film that she actually does have some flaws, which those are the most interesting parts of the film for me, to be honest. But yeah, we do see her going through this training thing, and then we actually see So what happens is, during her training run, Kylo does the Force telekinesis thing and ends up disrupting her training. He actually uses the Vader helmet to, like, basically mess her up, and she ends up doubting herself, and ends up giving up with his training for a while, and it shows, even though Rey's extremely powerful in this film, it just shows how powerful Kylo is as well. And in a lot of the cases, Kylo is even more powerful than her. So I thought that was really good, rather than, because from The Force Awakens, when obviously Kylo was injured, but Rey did beat him, and so there's no real character development she can have from there, because what's she gonna do? She's gonna beat him again? Like, so having her get stronger, but then Kylo getting a lot stronger as well. Yeah, I thought that was good. Yep, I'll get into the first main bit I don't like. Yeah, so, well, I like the scene, but it could have been improved in a lot better way. So we're introduced to Poe and Finn on the Falcon again, and they're on some mission to get some plans, and they get those plans from this guy called Bulio, and then Bulio ends up dying, and then they're doing this cool, what is it called, hyperspace skipping, and it was cool, and Poe's a great pilot, and it was pretty cool. Like, it was kind of ridiculous, but you can't deny it. It was still a pretty cool scene. But what I didn't like about that is then when they got back, they were implying they had this enemy spy on the inside, and that was the reason for getting this information. Even though in the title crawl it was saying that Palpatine had broadcast the whole galaxy, so it was a bit unnecessary for them. And when we find out who this enemy spy is, I think that scene was just totally ridiculous to me and just seemed completely unnecessary. So I would have been fine if they just got this in. Like, other people could have got the information that Palpatine was back, and I would have been fine with them just getting that information from Bulio and then going from there, rather than just doing it. It just seemed a bit stupid, the having the spy on the inside, like I'll get onto later. Yeah, so that led them to going on the search for this MacGuffin, the second version of this MacGuffin they needed to track Palpatine. But I would have just been fine for Rey to read those books, come to the conclusion that that's where they needed to go, and to track down Palpatine. Basically, the need for this internal spy was just completely unnecessary, I think. Yeah, but I'm not 100% sure that's what their initial mission was, but I'm assuming it was, because they got back and then they heard about Palpatine, and then later on Palpatine is broadcast into the whole galaxy, so it just seems a bit weird. The internal spy thing just seems a bit unnecessary. And then they go to Pisana, which is when they're on the search for this MacGuffin. And there's another scene of Rey and Kylo having this telekinesis, where Kylo overpowers her again. She's not able to control it. He actually grabs these beads. People are gonna criticize that for days. I know. It's just like, why did she go talk to this little girl and accept some beads? It's just like, but I thought that was a really and then he uses those beads to track down where they are, and in most cases they'd just be like, oh, we put a tracker on their ship, but so that was a more unique way to actually track them down, and it gave that time frame of like, right, they know where they are, they've got some units in the area that can fight them while Kylo and the Knights of Ren are on their way. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it showed the power of Kylo rather than just Rey beating his ass all the time. Yeah, and with the tracking thing, it's like the first time the secret rebel base is actually a secret and it doesn't get found out. I feel like that's all the time. It's just like secret rebel base for 5 minutes, and then someone finds out where it is, and then they have to move again. Yep, so then they go in search of the MacGuffin on Pisana. Meet Lando. That was really nice. I liked the scene. It was like really throwback to Return of the Jedi, but in Return of the Jedi it makes sense for him to be disguised and like hiding in this place, but Lando has no idea that they're going to be there. But well, I think he gets communication from Leia, but even then it was a nice scene, but it was still a bit just a bit silly, but I don't know, it works. And they didn't ruin his character in the end, so I'm happy. You can't ask for not asking for much. Yeah, then they're in some quicksand, and Finn wants to tell Rey something, but then he doesn't want to tell Poe, but then he never ends up telling Rey, and I'm not sure he did, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention, but I'm pretty sure it was just like Finn being force sensitive, but why didn't you tell that in front of Poe? And then Poe turns into like the jealous boyfriend that Han is in the Return of the Jedi when Luke leaves to go to Vader and he's getting all pissy with Leia. It was just a bit weird. It just seemed a bit unnecessary, that sort of thing. And then this is where we actually see the yeah, this is actually where we see the first flaw in Rey, which was the most interesting part. Like I say, was the most interesting part of the film for me, is because of her being, what did I put, reckless. Yeah, because they're searching the ship, and then she feels something, and she goes out into the desert, and like, people are trying to help her. Finn's telling her to get back to the ship, sends Chewie to go help her get back to the ship, but she's not paying attention. She's just like in tune with, she's just focused, and then she fights Kylo. It's just like she's extremely strong, but she's not taking advice from anyone. She's just doing things on instinct, which can be good, but most of it could have backfired. Like the same happens later on where she does something really instinctively, but if it went wrong, like everyone thought it was a bad idea, and if it went wrong, then yeah, not very good explanation at the top. Yeah, and her being extremely reckless, like Chewie's sent to go help get her back to the ship, and Chewie ends up getting captured, and then she's so focused. Oh, she slices Kylo Ren's TIE fighter, and yeah, she's so focused on that stuff, her fighting, that she doesn't realise Chewie's been captured, and then she tries to pull down this transporter, which it shows her immense like force power, and it's just embracing the fact of how ridiculously OP she is. It's just like, fuck it. But Kylo's actually extremely powerful as well. He manages to like stop it from the happening, and Rey ends up shooting force lightning and destroying the ship, and she thinks she's killed Chewie, and I like that because it kind of gives, it feels like Rey's she's not really controlled with her use of the Force. Like maybe she's just using the dark side of the Force, and that's why she's so powerful, but then obviously she has no control over how powerful it is, and yeah, and they think they've killed Chewie, and then they end up dipping out of there. Yep. Okay, I got a bit confused with this bit when I was writing it down. So I think they go to another planet, and this scene was completely useless as well. I think just they go to this planet to get C-3PO to speak in a Sith language, and it just seems a bit unnecessary. Like they're just bobbing around from place to place to place, and I think they could have condensed this into a different way and just cut this scene out. Like I say, I literally forgot about it. And then it's all for nothing anyway, because R2 backs up they say a joke is like, hasn't R2 backed up your memory? And then when they get back to the rebel base, they end up backing up his memory. So it's a bit stupid, I think. He does introduce this Dune Zori Bliss character, but like they don't have enough time to establish any backstory for her. So what was the point of introducing her? Like, yeah, she had a past relationship with Poe or whatever, but they don't even explore that much more. So they kind of could have cut it out and then made the rest of it less condensed and less rushed, I feel like. So I feel like that they should have gone straight to the Star Destroyer from there. That's why originally, when I was writing down my notes, that's what I originally thought. I thought they went straight to the Star Destroyer to rescue Chewie, and I was like, oh, they could have just intercepted him rather than letting him get to the cell, and then that would have removed the ridiculous scene with Hux. Okay, so I'm gonna get onto the Hux scene. So Hux ends up being the spy, and they could have got rid of this if Chewie wasn't in a cell. They could have just intercepted him, got back to the ship, and then got out of there. But they had to do this stupid scene with Hux where Hux takes control of capturing them and then kills some stormtroopers and then tries to act like he's injured and then goes back to this other commander who doesn't buy his bullshit, because who would? Like, it was just a really stupid scene, and that's what made me think about what was the point of having this inside man in the First Order, because just for this stupid gag of like him, Hux just seems like an absolute clown in this. Like, you think he was a clown in The Last Jedi, but he just doesn't. And his motivation is, literally just like he's scared of Kylo Ren, because there was a scene that I missed further on earlier on. I forgot to mention it, where like, it's basically the scene from A New Hope where there's all the commanders around the table and then Vader's talking, and in that scene it establishes like is talking. They're like joking, well, not joking. They're like underestimating the power of the Force, and then Vader shows them what's up. But in this scene, they don't even say, the guys don't even say anything that bad, and Kylo just like yeets him at the ceiling. It's like it's just trying to be that scene, but it just doesn't work. Like maybe if I re-listen to it, but I don't think it worked very well. But yeah. So I think they should have just intercepted Chewie rather than letting him get to the cell, and that would make sense, because if they went straight from Pisana to the Star Destroyer, then they could have intercepted Chewie. And then in that scene we also see Rey being reckless again, where she just goes off on her own to do her own thing, and she goes after this dagger. Yep, so she goes after this dagger and ends up in Kylo's chamber. It's in Kylo's chamber, and yeah, people are going to nitpick. Oh, it's not really nitpicking, but so Kylo was obviously aware about the dagger. He was talking about it, but then he didn't realise that it was in his chambers. So he could have realised, and he only realised when they destroyed the Darth Vader helmet. But like, lapse of judgment, like it's fair enough. Also, that other planet that I don't even know the name of, I feel like the main purpose of it was to kind of establish the Knights of Ren more, but it was just them like searching around. They didn't really do anything. So I don't know. It was like JJ had all these ideas and he just wanted to get them all in, but then he couldn't in one movie, and the Knights of Ren did basically nothing. So yeah. But yeah, they have another like force telekinesis teleportation fight thing, and then you realise they're on the ship, and then Kylo goes to intercept Rey before she gets off on the Falcon with the rest of them. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll move on in the next video.